Welcome to Leading with Curiosity. Command and control leadership is dead. We interview leaders, entrepreneurs, and executive coaches challenging old paradigms and fostering cutting-edge leadership. Here's your host, certified executive coach, Nate Leslie.
What happens when two leadership trainers sit down to talk shop? We hope we're going to give you a masterclass in human connection. I'm Nate Leslie, and today on Leading with Curiosity, I'm talking with Bruce Mayhew. Bruce is the author of The Path of an Inspired Leader, and like me, he spends his days helping leaders build cultures of trust. Bruce's book is like a playbook. It's there when you need it, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. Bruce and I came to this work from really different angles. I grew up in the high-performance world, professional hockey, clearly a team sport. Bruce actually felt very uncomfortable in the team sport environment and preferred individual sports, yet here he is helping teams come together and build trust. So there's your teaser. We're going to talk a little bit more about how two guys with such different approaches can come to similar work. Today, we're going to compare some notes on how to help teams support each other, why curiosity is often the missing ingredient in some of the most difficult workplace conversations, and explore some key messages in his book and how to use it, like that playbook that I mentioned, like positive accountability, shared vision, transparency. Bruce, here we are. Welcome to Leading with Curiosity.
Hey, it's great to be here. It's like I've been here before almost.
This is kind of round two for Bruce and I with a few technical issues in round one, dress rehearsal, and things are always better the second time around. So this is going to be great. Thanks for being back.
Oh, it's great.
You often say that performance comes from respect and trust, that performance comes from that foundation of trust. In your work lately, what's the number one thing that you feel like is getting in the way of building that trust?
I would say transparency is a big problem. If there's not enough of it, that can really degrade or eliminate trust really, really quickly. Trust takes a long time to build and a very short time to destroy or to ruin. And what I found, even with brand new relationships, if the people involved can feel that their leader is being transparent about what their goals are and what the reality of their workspace is or whatever might be going on, that builds a foundation. They don't have to worry about what the boss isn't saying. That idea of transparency is huge for me.
Trust can take a long time to build and can be eroded very quickly. Sharing the goals, sharing the objectives, and also that current reality. Sometimes I think bosses hold back and keep too much in where that transparency on the current reality can really help, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like there's always going to be and let me simplify it, and I don't mean to minimize it, but there's always going to be good and bad in a workspace, right? Like there's an opportunity with a new client, or there's a problem with the software, or there might be a downturn in the economy, right? So there's always going to be a sunny side and an evening side to the world. If all you ever do is talk about the sunshine days, people know that there's something going on. Like they know it in their work. They can sense it, even if they're not directly involved. If you're honest about it, and saying, hey, we just lost a big client, but we're going to be okay. We're going to have to tighten our belts, be really careful with what we do in the next 6 months, but we're going to be okay. It's not going to be sunshine and roses. We might have to cancel the pizza party every Friday, but we're going to be okay, right?
Yeah.
That takes the stress out of people so that they can actually, instead of trying to protect themselves, they can actually focus right in on how are we going to get that next best client, right? And so that they can do their best work because they're not scared.
That's really interesting. I found myself in what you just shared. I prefer to be an optimist. I prefer to look at what is good, believe in positive psychology, focusing on the good things. And if the software is not doing what it's supposed to, just acknowledging what isn't working is really powerful, especially to someone who's maybe more realist. So we think about different personalities here at play. Like, don't sugarcoat that things are awesome because they're not.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't have to dwell on the negative, but just
Yeah. But
say, hey,
acknowledge it, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. There's something going on here. We're going to keep an eye on that. We're going to
Yeah.
work hard to minimize it, to get over it. But let's just realize that that's there. It's just part of that transparency component that just
Yeah.
lets people be their best instead of worrying about putting up their armor or protecting themselves, or maybe I have to go find another job, right? Yeah.
You've used the word transparency here as this theme, and you and I have also talked a lot about authenticity. That armor, the boss, the manager, the owner often thinks they need to pretend to be someone they're not. Make that connection
Mhm.
between the armor and that lack of authenticity that might create.
Sure. A sense of armor, in some cases is good, but if people sense that you're putting on an image, but that you're not being authentic, that again gets into that transparency component. And they wonder, that Bruce doesn't really seem to be comfortable in what he's saying, or, his words are different than his actions, or something going on. What's going on? Right?
Yeah.
What do I have to worry about? So that is really an important aspect. That authenticity is really
Yeah.
important, and more so today than it was 20 years ago, even. That leader has to be able to say, I don't know everything, but I know where we're going. And I know that us as a team, we can get there.
But
And
I know where we're going.
yeah, and that aspect of it is really important. I keep going every once in a while back to the idea of the leader being the captain of a ship, right?
Yeah.
They're up there. They know what the goals are. They know where the icebergs are. Sorry, Titanic people. They they have the radar. They know how much fuel is in the tank downstairs, but they're not down in the engine room. What they're doing is that they're setting the course and they're making
Yeah.
sure everybody knows what their contribution is.
Man, I'm going to go back one sec. I'm going to hang on to that, but I know where we're going statement about vision and the captain of the ship in the engine room. I'm going to come back to that.
Yeah.
First, I don't want to glaze over the fact that you said some amount of armor is okay. Brene Brown talks about vulnerability all the time.
Mhm.
It's not that necessarily everything's on the table. There are some things that we can protect our team and our organization from. There are guardrails around that transparency. However, there's more
Mhm.
room to play. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. And goes professionally at work, but it's also personally, right? That we have to be able to accept that a little armor is okay. I have to be true to myself. And if my natural tendency is to not talk about my family and all the rest of that stuff, that's okay. My coworker might be, all out on the table.
Yeah.
Um, but I might be an introvert and they might be an extrovert, and we have to be
Yeah.
able to accept that.
Yeah.
And then there's that professional side where, you know, the boss, the leader needs to be transparent about everything that's going on, but at the same time, they don't have like it's not appropriate to share absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, back to this quote. I love this. I don't need to know everything, but I know where we're going. That feels like you'd be a liberating manager or leader if I worked for you, right? Where some
Mhm.
people get in the trap thinking they need to know everything, and that's the whole world of micromanaging. So that captain of the ship, understanding where we're going, that's vision, right?
Mm.
So let's jump into vision because I know that's really important in your work too. Some
Yep.
leaders think that's existential. Why are we talking about vision? Let's just do our job. Talk a little bit more about the importance of a leader simply knowing where we're headed.
Sure. And the vision provides that foundation and values. For me, vision and values are really a big part of the work that I do
Yeah. Okay.
and the dialogue that I share with clients and within the book. But vision gives me a comfort to know why my work is important. If I know where we're going and what we're trying to accomplish, I can see how what I do today, what I do this week adds to that solution, that vision. I'm supporting the vision by doing this work, whether it's developing software or a marketing campaign or working frontline with the customer service desk. If I know what that vision, it anchors what I do. The values then tell me why it's important and how I do it.
Yeah.
So the values give me the it gives me the personality that I need to bring to that work. Right.
While we're doing the work, the way I need to behave.
Absolutely. Which goes back to my introvert extrovert comment a minute ago. If we know what our values are, even though I'm an introvert, I know this is how we as a team are supposed to behave, act, how I can trust you and how you can trust me.
Let's take a couple of my businesses, for example. One,
Yeah.
that we lead with curiosity, and
Mhm.
two, that we're in service to other people. So if you
Mhm.
knew that about my team and you came to join us, how might those two things influence you, Bruce? That we lead with curiosity and that we are in service to others.
I love the lead with curiosity component. It allows me to say, I don't know. And
Nice.
it allows me to not freak out when somebody else says, I don't know. Right. So that lead with curiosity says, I don't have to know everything.
Good.
And that we can move forward and be strategic, be careful from time to time,
Yeah.
but that we know that tomorrow isn't going to be exactly the same as today.
Nice. Nice.
So that folds into change management, where I don't have to be scared of change
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I know that our culture is lead with curiosity.
Yeah. Great. Let's do
So
the second one. So in service to others. What
in
does that mean
service
to
to
you?
others, yeah, no, in service to others, I don't know how you'll feel about this one, but I think in service to others starts with me being in service to me. I
Okay.
have to make sure that I am comfortable and I'm not giving too much to somebody else. In my world, I do a lot of time management work, right?
Okay.
So in service to others, I see people getting into trouble because it's like, oh, hey, Bruce needs some help. I'm going to drop my stuff and go help Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, my priorities are now taking a risk, right? So what do I do with that? Do I miss a deadline? Do I have to work till midnight? Do I have to tell my family that I'm not going to the cottage this weekend? So we have to be really careful with that in service to others part, that I
Mm-hmm.
still have to make sure that I'm managing my priorities. But it also says that I need to also look out for my neighbor. And I do need to be there for them when they need me.
Yeah.
Right.
Good.
So for me with time management, I always believe that we should have a couple hours, like 1 or 2 hours a day that are not structured. That allows me to say, hey,
Mm.
I know you need some help, Nate. I'm really busy with this report that I have to get done by the end of the day or by noon. Can I help you at 2 o'clock? Is that okay? Or if you really need me right now, I'm able to say, hey, don't worry. I can take this report and put it to 2 o'clock. Nate, how can I help you now?
That's so interesting. I'm thinking of two clients right now. One's a boss and one's a direct report, and one's calendar, the boss, their calendar is so packed that their direct reports can't find time to connect with them. The other one might be a little low on details, but his calendar is so wide open, he's there when his team needs him. And so if my calendar is too full, that I am unavailable, that's an example of not living that value the way you just described it to my neighbors or
Mhm.
to my team, right?
Right, right, right. Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what's happening right now between you and I is that we're interpreting that value and now we're able to have a conversation about it. And for me to reinforce, absolutely. Bruce, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else.
Mhm,
And to me, that value of service to others is my joy comes from seeing my team and my clients be successful. That's
mhm.
where my joy is driven, not my own bottom line, et cetera.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now we're
Yeah.
more clear on where we stand, and we can live within that in a slightly different way, but we would create that foundation.
Absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree. What I love about that, Nate, is that we're having a conversation about it.
Yeah.
So I can hear your perspective on that reality, and you can hear my perspective on that
Yeah.
reality. So
Yeah.
I don't have to think that you're, you know, being mean when you say, yeah, Bruce, I'd love to help you, but can I do it at 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
I can understand that what you do,
Yeah.
what you're doing and why you're doing it. And it makes perfect sense to me.
And this took maybe 6 minutes. We're almost near strangers. You and I have spent a few hours together, and if we were working together, we'd already start working better tomorrow. We're both clear.
Mhm. Yeah.
We're going to take care of ourselves. I have 3 rocks up here. The first one is myself. First one
Yeah.
represents taking care of myself, and that's what you just said. So Bruce and I both know our own personal lives are important to one another, and then we can help our neighbor, our
Yeah.
team, our boss, our direct reports better.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
I know that you wanted to write The Path of an Inspired Leader
Mm,
for 10 years. You knew it was the book you wanted to write. Tell me a
right.
little bit about how you knew and what was burning inside you for 10 years before you finally wrote it.
I'm a big reader. My library has so many books on leadership, on time management, on generational differences, on difficult conversations. Like I, I, I honestly want to absorb all of it. So it's this huge curiosity that I've had for many, 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 many years. Early in my career, I worked at Scotiabank, and for a good part of that, I was a manager, and I had people that reported into me. I certainly always had people that I worked with. So even when I wasn't an official leader, I had people that I supported and that supported me.
Mhm.
Um, and I was always really curious about the relationships that happen and how we work together around different situations, whether it was change management, whether it was hiring someone, whether it was onboarding. I mean, there's all kinds of components of that management that I took really seriously and I wanted to get better at. And so I read and I read and I read. And and that informed the work that I do now. And so for the last 20 years, I've been doing this. I've been teaching leadership and other communication skills. What I realized was that nowadays, especially, that we don't have time like I had time or
Mm,
interest like I had interest to read 200 books or 300 books and to synthesize them into how would I approach, adopting a values definition for my team, right? So what I wanted to do with the book was create a book that contained all of that. So
wow.
S so, yeah. So, every chapter is a topic that a leader might experience. The first couple chapters are all about establishing trust and building, a sense of loyalty and open communication and vulnerability. And then it gets into, how do you have a difficult conversation that is respectful?
Nice.
Another chapter is, how do you hire someone? So if you're a first time leader and you've never hired anybody, you don't know what you should be doing and shouldn't be doing. Well, I have 8 pages that will take care of that for you. Just close the door for a minute, spend 10 minutes reading that chapter, and you can come out of it with confidence on what to do next. Onboarding, change management, appreciative inquiry. If a boss or even an employee for that matter finds themselves in this situation, just take 10
Where's the
minutes,
check?
read this chapter, and you'll have the confidence to be able to have a conversation about it and to know what you should be doing and how to do it pretty well.
Mentioned in the intro, it's like a playbook. It's a handbook. It's
Mm,
there when you need it. Okay, I'm
yeah.
hiring someone. We haven't had much turnover lately. I haven't hired anyone in a while. I don't need to be the expert in hiring,
Yeah.
but I need a couple of key things to think about that are going to keep me sharp in that moment. And it's Such a useful tool. Talk a little bit about appreciative inquiry. In my coaching training, that's when that phrase first came into mind, and I feel like it's changed my life. So I can't ignore that you just mentioned that.
Oh, totally. I can remember, honestly, I can remember when I first heard that. I was at a conference and a speaker brought that topic up. It's like I fell off the chair. It's like, wow. Um, so appreciative inquiry is all about taking a look at a situation that might not be the best situation. It might be a problem that just happened. It might be a software glitch that just happened. It might be somebody just quit, right? Whatever it's a, there's a negative. Traditionally, and I will admit to being that person, would, sort of sit in a room and explore that problem and why it happened. And I would just drive that problem into the ground.
Mm.
And it might be an hour conversation. And we would leave that room and we would all feel demoralized and like the air's been let out of our tires and we don't really have a plan on what we should do next. But man, we know what the problem was. That's where appreciative inquiry turns it on its head.
Yeah.
Appreciative inquiry might say, hey, yeah, take a look at the problem for 10 minutes. What happened? Now, given that problem, what went right with that situation? So if it's a brand new software that just got launched and then it crashed, what part of the software is working? So let's make sure we protect what's working. Who is the best programmer that we have on our team? Or who is the best programming team that we can assign to that? Great. So let's get that team A because we have a resource that can fix this thing. Great. So what else do we have to do? Do we need to get marketing? I mean, Bruce is the marketing dude. Let's bring marketing in so he can help us prepare the messaging that needs to go out to our clients. So instead of spending an hour in that boardroom being deflated, we look at it and say, okay, we don't have to fix that. It's this little thing. Team A is on board. Let's get Bruce in. And you're walking out of that meeting with a plan on how to fix things.
Yeah.
And now everybody feels engaged. Everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing. We can get it up and running really quickly. The programming team feels really energized because they've just been recognized as the A team. So the appreciative component is what's working.
What's working? What is good? What is
What
good
is
in our current reality? Back to the start of your conversation around transparency, acknowledging that something's broken, something has
yeah,
broke. Okay.
yeah,
But where are we at? What is good about where we're at? And how do we move forward or get out of it? It's more of
absolutely.
it's acknowledging the past and now getting quicker into appreciating inquiry, being curious, asking the
Mhm.
question, what is
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
and moving
yeah.
on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I love what you're saying, Nate. Now, instead of spending an hour trying to protect me, right, and trying to
Mm-mm.
blame you for it, I don't have to worry about blaming anybody. Like, we're not doing that, right? If we're not sitting in that room trying to find who to fire because of that blip, instead of protecting myself and sitting back, I'm going to be all in and making sure that I'm part of the solution.
I got to jump in there on that word too. I love picking up words that we both use here, Bruce. So for those listeners or clients listening where we've used the leadership circle profile, universal model of leadership, protecting is a reactive behavior, right? Protecting ego, protecting position, blaming somebody else, can't be my fault, I didn't do this, puts a lot of stress on the system. Appreciative
Hmm.
inquiry, being curious about what is good, looking at the whole system is more of a systems thinking view,
Hmm.
which is on the leadership circle, it's northern hemisphere. That's a creative leadership behavior, which unleashes energy on the system rather than the protecting or the defensiveness that is a reactive.
Yeah, or one thought on that one. I totally agree with that reacting word. I always try to switch react to respond,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
And that's where it gets into that curiosity. If I have to react, that's where I'm usually protecting myself. If I'm able to respond, it means I allow myself to be curious and to think about what needs to happen. Because reacting is all about defensiveness, it's all about instinct.
Yeah.
Respond is all about thoughtful, intentional behavior.
Responsibility. If as a leader we take responsibility, if we break down that word, response and ability, we acknowledge that we have the ability to choose how we respond. This is a choice, isn't it?
I agree, absolutely. And it might be a split second, but
Yeah.
man, that split second, it can make or break your reputation, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Two more questions and then into where can we find you in your book, Bruce? You've mentioned difficult conversations, which is one of the chapters in your book as well. When a
Yeah.
leader's heading into that high stakes conversation, what's a question they can ask themselves to get out of that defensive mode and into a more of a curiosity mode?
I would ask, what does the other person need to feel safe? Uh,
Say more.
that that would be one of the big things that would be on my thought list before I walked in there is is what does the other person need to feel safe? The other would be, what are our agreed upon objectives and goals and values? So what is the foundation that you and I are standing on before we even get into that room? And then I would align everything, those two components of what do we know? What do we agree on beforehand? And then what do you need? Because as soon as the other person feels safe, they're able to respond.
Yeah, and
When
protect
right?
less.
And if you're going into that difficult conversation and I feel like I might be at risk, I'm going to get defensive. I'm going to start reacting.
It's the work before the conversation begins that you feel is most important. So
Mhm.
setting that clear expectation and transparency of what we're going to try to achieve in that conversation creates that safer space, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like most people, I have to believe, I know what this is true with me. If I know that I'm going to have a difficult conversation with somebody because of a performance issue, I'm not giving them the raise that they wanted or the promotion that they wanted or whatever that situation might be, I know I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and my head just spins for the next 2 hours
Yeah.
of how's Nate going to react to that? What's Nate going to say? What's Nate going to do? What's Nate going to, and I have that whole conversation in my head. But if I can take that offline and instead say, what does Nate need? And how do I prepare? What are our common goals? And really fit that conversation into both a practical, a technical situation, policy perhaps even, about, I'm sorry, there were 3 people that applied for the job and only one person could get it. The reality is 2 people didn't get it. But at the same time, knowing that this is going to be disappointing for the other person and being able to appreciate and respect that this is disappointing, and then use appreciative inquiry to turn that around and say, but I want to help you get better and better prepared for the next time that there's an opening. How can we work together to make you better?
I would argue these are curiosity and in service to that person, those core values at play in that moment, aren't
Yeah.
they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How
Yeah.
can we learn from this? How can I help you? What do you need?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say, hey, use that 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock time far more productively.
Exactly. I actually, as you were saying it, I pictured, oh, I'm not the only one that happens to. You're playing that conversation in your head. And the hamster
Oh, yeah.
literally got off the wheel when you shifted it to what does that person need? What does Nate need tomorrow when I meet with them?
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
love that. Final question here. If there was one thing a leader could let go of that would create more trust within the team, what could they let go of?
Hmm. I would say let go of your ego, let go of your need to to control everything.
Hmm.
Um, let yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let yourself be vulnerable.
When the captain of the ship thinks they need to be fixing the engine, that's probably when they hit the iceberg. You don't need
Yeah.
to know everything, right? You have
Exactly.
engineers in the engine room.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Like, well, yeah. And if the radar goes down, the captain's not the person that should be fixing it. The captain should be doing a lot of other things, right? Yeah.
Yeah, keep your eye
Yeah.
on the big picture, where the ship is
Yeah.
headed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bruce, where can people find you and the path of an inspired leader?
The path of an inspired leader is that. So if you're ever looking for it, that's you're looking for green. You can find me at brucemayhew.com. You can find me on LinkedIn as Bruce Mayhew, Mayhew. There's a um, there's a dentist in the UK, and then there's me.
I wanna talk to you, not the dentist.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, those are the two best places to get in touch with me. You can get the book. You can get it through my website. There's a book page there. Depending on where you are, and Amazon, Indigo, Barnes and Noble are all great places to get the book.
We're also gonna put a link in the show notes directly to you and the book, Bruce. Thank you so
Perfect.
much for your time and your patience and, getting through our dress rehearsal into our final, performance here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Leading with Curiosity. Please share, follow, and rate the show so that other leaders can make positive change in the world. Connect with Nate at nateleslie.ca. And remember, the brain behaves very differently when encouraged to think rather than told to listen.